Episodes number 48 through 56 are encore presentations of some of the earlier shows. Here's why. Those early shows were full of foundational information, and I want to make sure you get a chance to hear them again. We're building a new life here, and the new foundation matters. If your reaction is to skip these encores, listen to this first. When you learn something new, 50% of it is gone from your awareness within an hour. That jumps to a loss of 70% within 24 hours and 90% is lost within the week. Add to that during the course of listening to something, your mind wanders a bunch of times. You hear something and your mind takes you on a little rabbit trail until you find yourself coming back to the show. All good, we all do it. Based on that, I'm willing to bet the next few episodes, though repeats, are going to feel brand spanking new to you. And isn't that awesome? Number 57 will be back to original content. So enjoy the shows. Okay, so hello, all you beautiful beings, and welcome to the show. I'm Lane Smith Brown, and this is episode number 3 of the Unleash Your Life podcast. And today we're going to have a conversation about the origin of our power leaks. Mine started with a missing bedroom and some disappearing friends. I'm curious to find out where yours come from. This is the Unleash Your Life podcast, where you're going to learn to rewild yourself. I'm your host, Lane Smith Brown, and I'm a best-selling author and rewilding guide. And over the last 20 years, I've been guiding women back to their truest selves. You see, you were born wild with all the wisdom you will ever need to navigate your life in a beautiful and powerful way. Then, just like everyone else on the planet, you got tamed as you fell under the power and influence of others who were also tamed. All that taming you got as a kid has you convinced you are less powerful than you really are. I call all of that unconscious programming power leaks. And on this show, you're going to discover yours, and then you're going to choose to plug them so you can get back to the wild, wise, and powerful being that you are. So grab a coffee, glass of wine, or a favorite friend, or all three, and let's talk about what living your wild self can mean for you. Welcome back to the show. I've touched on this topic before regarding how our minds are working from a bizarre and random set of rules, but I'm going to drill down into something today that might prove to be really helpful tool for you as we continue our work together on letting go of our power leaks and stepping into our authentic power, also known as our divine intuition. On the last show, we talked about worry as a power leak, and you got access to my free crash course on creating lasting peace. I sure hope you took advantage of that. And if you didn't download it, I guess this served as a helpful reminder. So you're welcome. So let's spend some time talking about how we develop our power leaks, way before we were old enough to know better. We've all done it, and I was no exception. When I was around 6, my family and I moved into a new home that my father had designed and built. As we all made our way downstairs to inspect the bedrooms, my parents realized that they had not created a bedroom for me. It was the oddest of feelings. I remember noticing the discomfort on my mother's face, and my heart just sank in complete disbelief. It all kind of made that wah-wah sound. At least that's the soundtrack I've given it this many years later. You see, the basement had been expertly laid out with 2 perfect rooms for each of my sisters. My oldest sister picked the combination of red and pink. It was the late 60s, and I'm sure that was a spectacular choice for the era. And my other sister had a bright sun yellow and cobalt blue room. Each of them had custom-made dressers, desks, and beds built flush into the walls. So they had all this great space in the center, and each had a lovely window. My father had his personal office space with an imposing desk, a seating area, and a big, bright window. There was, of course, a bathroom and a large family room with custom fireplace made of local stone that my father had personally selected. Then there was a laundry room and a storage room. But there was no bedroom for me. The solution? Turn a windowless storage room into my bedroom. A mad dash was made to cut a hole into the wall through to the laundry room so that there would be some circulation created for the space. And presto, Lane had a bedroom. Although I know now what my parents were going through at the time, and I can understand how, as a 6-year-old, I interpreted things much differently than either of them had intended, the memory of feeling forgotten brought tears to my eyes for many, many years. The legacy of that energy left in me would take decades to unlearn. And it was in that moment that I began to internalize the lie that I didn't matter. I was inconvenient, forgettable, invisible, and unworthy. Now, that feeling got reinforced a couple of years later when I started to make significant connections with neighborhood kids. Like lots of typical kids, I would have these great times playing and exploring spaces with neighbors or school friends, and a sense of happiness at finding others to share time with, only to find those individuals suddenly gone from my life. I couldn't figure it out. What was wrong with me? The conclusion? I was inconvenient, forgettable, invisible, and now unworthy of friends. As the years went on, I became less and less eager to connect with people. I had learned to believe that it would always end without rhyme, reason, or explanation. It wasn't until I was in my 20s that my father confessed that he and my mother had purposefully found ways to dissuade any friendships with kids who did not come from families with the same religion as us. They were afraid I would be influenced by other ideas, so they kept me isolated and profoundly lonely. It never dawned on either of them the subliminal message that I would hear in this covert action. Let me ask you this. When you heard the story about my missing bedroom, did you come to the conclusion that I was unworthy and that I deserved to be forgotten, as if I got what I deserved? I doubt you did. And when you heard what my parents did to protect me from children who didn't believe what they believed, did you think that was proof I was unimportant, unlovable, and certainly not friendship material? Nope. I'd be willing to bet you went straight to compassion after hearing both of those stories. How many stories do you have from your kidhood that you're still holding on to and judging yourself as less than the magnificent creature that you are? Did something happen at school or church or at a party where you got embarrassed or uncomfortable or dismissed? Did you keep hearing the same veiled insult over and over again? You're just like your mother. Or you need to apply yourself more like your sister. Or you talk too much. Or you eat too much. You know what I'm talking about, right? Things were said that landed hard and awkwardly, and you just held on to it as if it was the truth for no good reason. Do you recognize that all those things that still might sting a bit were not actually about you? Just as the missing bedroom and the disappearing friends were not about me. It's just shit that happened and hurt, but it wasn't deserved. And it certainly wasn't meant to take you or me away from the perfect, amazing beings we came to be. We were full of nothing but dreams and possibilities then, and that is still true today. As an adult, I could simply have chosen to be angry and keep perpetuating the feelings that I was inconvenient, forgettable, invisible, and unworthy. But I eventually chose to go another way. Look, we all want a sense of belonging, connection, love, and peace. We want to know we matter, that we fit in somewhere. Now, remember how I mentioned in the last podcast about how our ego likes to keep us in the familiar state because it believes familiar equals safe? Well, here's how that played out for me, because I had the belief that I was inconvenient, forgettable, invisible, and unworthy. My ego kept directing me towards things that would reinforce those feelings. So I spent a lifetime trying to gain a sense of worth and belonging from other people. I tried to be indispensable or self-sacrificing. I'd say yes when I truly wanted to say no. I put everyone else's priorities above my own, so much so that it took years to figure out what makes me happy. Why would I even ask myself a question like that? I even spent years expecting no one to want me for a friend. So I just stayed on the sidelines and watched everybody else have fun. If this is resonating with you at all, or if it's leaving you in a state of confusion, bear with me. We're going to keep going at these topics, and more of this is going to click. All of that I felt for myself is long gone now. What I have come to know is this: it is my soul's journey and responsibility to find that sense of belonging in me. When I was finally able to embrace the brilliance of who I am, I connected to my intuition for probably one of the first times. Now, I still fall into old thinking patterns. I take little excursions away from that sense of knowing who I am and what I'm connected to, but I don't stay there long because the disconnection feels more painful to me now than ever before. Realizing and understanding the truth of who I am, what I am connected to, and what I want to experience on this journey came over a great deal of time and with a great deal of work. But it did come. It came from paying attention and being disciplined, and from unlearning all of those old disempowering beliefs and lies and replacing them with my truth. Those old patterns are the power leaks. When I feel insecure, unworthy, inconvenient, or invisible, when I worry or fret or start beating myself up in some metaphorical way, I am leaking my authentic power. I am wasting my energy on lies. My kidhood experience could have shut me down and made me go inward. And admittedly, it did for quite a long time. But thank goodness, I could still hear that still small voice in the back of my mind that called me to be curious, to explore ideas, and to challenge what I was told and what I believed to be true. We all have that voice. Some of us shut it out by keeping the volume up on all sorts of other things so we can't hear it. But it's there, waiting for us to settle down and listen to its wisdom. Now, when you think about your pivotal moments, do you have compassion on yourself? Do you say kind things, consoling things? Or are you still living in the illusion that the feelings those experiences left in your body were true and accurate and deserved? Honestly, I wish there was a factory reset button on us, like that easy button was on the office supply store commercial a while ago, because we all came in so perfect, so complete, so intentional. And all of that is still true. It doesn't matter what anyone said to the contrary. All of that is a big, big pile of poop. So you know where you're wasting your energy, still caught up in an old thought loop? Do you know what power leaks you need to plug? If you stick with me, I promise we are going to go so finely tuned here to recognizing when you're playing small, when you're getting disconnected to the truth of who you are. And as you do that, the volume of your intuition will expand and get so much easier to hear. And when you get tuned to that inner voice, well, everything in your life can change for the better. You see, I know you came on purpose and with intention. And if you're willing, together we're going to discover what that is. You see, I choose to believe that I chose my family. And I chose all the experiences I've had until now. And I know I am deliberately choosing what I want to experience going forward. All of this is what makes me, me. And all of what you've experienced and what you intend to experience is what makes you, you. The fact that you're still listening tells me you know it too, or at least you want to know it. So let's be bold together, shall we? Let's find our power leaks, plug our power leaks, and tap into the infinite power source of our intuition. I'm not messing around here, women. I am stopping at nothing short of thousands upon thousands of us standing in our true and authentic power, setting our sights on how we can make the world better for everyone. All right, well, that's my big wish for the world. I hope you've enjoyed this conversation. I'm really, really glad that you were able to stay till the end. And remember to look at the show notes for some free resources and a bunch of other little bits of information. And of course, check out weirdhummingbirds.com if you want to get to know a little bit more about this work. Ta for now. Well, I hope this show rocked your world a little bit. If you want additional resources, check out the links in the show notes or at lanesmithbrown.com. And before you go, please subscribe to this podcast. It's how we get these tools into the world. And this world needs more wild women standing in their authentic power. Do that for me, will ya? Thank you.